Good morning, afternoon, and evening, HPAIR delegates and our guests. My name is Inkar, and I'm an associate here at HPAIR Organizing Committee. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today at this executive seminar, Diana Lee. Diana Lee is the CEO and co-founder of the leading marketing platform Constellation Agency. Today, she is going to talk to us about how the myth of the modern minority kept her from the C-suite and how we can rise together. This is a subject in which we should all be deeply interested in because we could receive a lot of insights from Diana, who had an incredible diverse career and now is a very successful female entrepreneur who is running one of the fastest growing companies in the US. Dear delegates, I assume you have received an email earlier today from me about Diana and the Constellation Agency, and I'm sure you already have a lot of questions that you want to ask. I'm kindly asking you to wait until the Q&A. Just be a little bit patient in the second half of the session. So now, without further ado, I'd like to give the words to Diana.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to meet all of you guys and tell you guys our story. I'd like to start with a short video about what Constellation really is, and then just a few slides about, sort of my upbringing and my journey and how we got here today. So I'm going to start with the video. Sorry, I give all the chances to do a little commercial on Constellation Agency. So it came from very humble beginnings. I put in $22,000 to start Constellation 5 years ago. And so we didn't even have an office. We worked, my partner, who's 21 years younger than me, he had an apartment in Manhattan. We started in an apartment. There were 3 of us. And so it really started growing exponentially so quickly. And now we are now 65 as the fastest growing company in the US. We're number 7 as the fastest growing marketing and advertising entity in the US as well. Number 7 as the fastest growing company in New York. Number 10 as the fastest growing woman-led company in the country as well. And because we remain self-funded out of choice, we are still women-owned and we're minority-owned as well. So just last week, we won the Entrepreneur of the Year Award in New York for Ernst & Young. And the CEO of NASDAQ reached out and put this up in Times Square for us. So it's been such an incredible journey in the last 5 years. And in so many ways, it's been so fascinating to watch our growth. So from the beginning, 2018, you could see all our different client types. We have over 1,400 clients, but we also work with a lot of brands. And the end of 2020, we started to work with agencies of record where they're licensing our technology, Omnicom, WPP, IPG. And so now we license technology to the agencies and the holding companies here in New York as well. And we're just exponentially growing up to $45 million in sales this year is our projection. And next year, we're planning to hit closer to 80 million in sales. So this is 5 years, guys, of growth that I'm showing you. So it all started when I immigrated here into this country back in 1974. I immigrated from South Korea, and this is a picture of myself and my sister. So I'm the little one in the blue little dress. And I came from a very, very poor upbringing. So when my parents moved here into this country, we were raised in the slums of Philadelphia. And we moved about 10 times in Philly because we kept getting robbed. And so that's really the story is like I would come home and I remember like I would arrive and I'd open the door and every stitch of furniture that we had would be completely missing. And we didn't even have a lot, you know, there was the four of us living in a small little tiny apartment, sleeping on the floor in, you know, Philadelphia. And when I would get home at 5 years old after, you know, a day of school with my sister, my parents were never around because they were working 15 to 18-hour days. I would walk home with her, and there've been a lot of times where we were just robbed completely. And one of the incidents really had to do with the fact that the robbers just kept coming back each and every time. And one Christmas, I remember that we got finally our one present that we got for Christmas. And the next day we would actually get robbed and I would lose everything right then and there. So this is, you know, this was me. And this is sort of the humble beginnings that I came from. This is me again. I'm still really young and I'm the smallest child. I'm still in the little blue dress because my parents couldn't afford a lot of dresses. So all the dresses I wore were always this blue dress. Um, and you could see how small I was. And so the significance here is my dad, who is actually an engineer by trade, couldn't get a job as an engineer when he came to the US, but he was like driven to make sure that my sister and I would make it here in this country. So he'd come back home and he would tutor me, and he would tutor me for hours. And the horrible part was that I was never really good at math, no matter how hard I tried. And so think about it. You know, I'm Asian. My sister's like a brainiac, getting straight A's. She's like always being the one that's actually top, you know, one or two in the class. And here's me, really small, I don't really do well on math. And my dad is super, super upset. He goes around, he tells everybody, you have to take care of my daughter. Please take care of my daughter. She's so little. She's so small. She doesn't do well in math. She's not going to make it. So he's convinced I'm not going to make it. Goes around telling all my family members, tells my relatives, tells his friends, and he's doing it out of his heart, right? He loves me. So he's like really telling everybody, I'm not going to make it. You got to take care of her. She's really tiny. She's not going to make it. But in my mind, as small as I was right there, I said to myself, I'm going to show him. And when people don't believe in you, what sometimes happens is that you don't have anything to lose. And when you don't have anything to lose, you have everything to gain. And so the story really is that I didn't have anything to lose. And so there were no boundaries on me. And because there were no boundaries, I could actually shoot for the stars. So another picture, I was 18 years old and I had told you guys I didn't have any money and I was going to college at the time. This is my freshman year going into my sophomore year. And I was raised in a situation where my parents were working already 15 to 18-hour days, trying to make sure that my sister and I would be educated enough to have good jobs in the future. And here I am, always feeling guilty asking for money at the time. And so my freshman year, going into sophomore year, I applied to a job at a local car dealership in Worcester, Massachusetts. And the job is for a greeter. And I'm like, I can be a greeter, no problem. And so I apply for the position, get the position. 2 weeks later, they go, you're no longer greeting. You're actually a salesperson now. I don't know how to sell cars. I don't know anything. I'm 18 years old. How am I going to do anything here? And they said, it doesn't matter. You're going to learn right now because there's too many customers in the showroom. And you're going to go up to them and you're going to ask them exactly what they need. And so I did it. And I did it for the next 3 years, going to school and actually working every single day. So I'd have classes from 9 to 2. I'd work 2 to 9 every single day, Saturday, Sunday. My college career was completely a blur because I was pretty much working all the time. But you know what? It paid for my college education, and I no longer had to ask my parents for money, which was my ultimate goal because I didn't want them to be stressed out about my financial situation. And what it also did was it gave me this hot little Toyota Celica for the next 4 years of college because they gave me a demo back then. And this is back in 1989. And so at this point, I still think, I'm going to go to law school. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I have to get educated. I have to get a good job. But what ends up happening is I finish school. I stay at the same job selling cars. And in my senior year, I get recruited to be a finance manager, which now is paying anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000 a year. So at 21 or 22, I get this job as the finance manager of a local dealership again. So my whole path of planning to go to law school goes sideways. I take the job. And so this journey really has to do with this, right? The myth of the model minority. And I find it fascinating because my parents, probably like so many of your parents, have this whole myth going on. And their myth, or my journey, has everything to do with you must play piano. You must be really, really good at piano. You have to be the best at piano. You have to be the best at your studies. You have to be number one in actually studying. And after you study all day and go to your classes, you have to go to Kumon. And so you have to do all your work during the day, then go to Kumon. And then in the summer times, there's more studying and more academics and more. And so my whole journey had to do with, if you don't do it, it's shame on you. Shame on you, because it's not just shame on you, it's shame on all the family members. You represent all of us. You represent our ancestors. Basically, it's shame, because if you don't actually do exactly the path that an Asian is supposed to take, which is become a doctor, become an engineer, become a lawyer, be a professional. And at the end, if you can't do all of those things, you're shaming your entire family. We all go down the tubes. Because if you don't actually do that and actually marry that as well, you have to marry a doctor, you have to marry a lawyer, you have to marry a professional, and you have to be a professional as well. And you have to be good at an instrument, and you have to study all day. So this is what I was told my entire life. And here I am, 22, still working at a car dealership. Okay. I was not anything that my parents told me to be. And at that point, they'd given up. They were like, oh, she's not going to make it. This is not our dream. So we're going to actually focus on our older child. Maybe we have a shot with her, because this one, she just went rogue. And at this point, we don't have a shot here. So here's my journey again, still in my 20s. At 22 years old, and I'm telling you guys this story because I don't think I was ever the model minority or the typical Asian, right? So my job had really kind of awful names for me. And I'm giving you actually a nice name they called me. They called me the Iron Butterfly. And so at 22 years old, I start this job as a finance manager. And the people that work there are double my age, and they're all men, and there's no diversity. This is like in the early 90s of the auto industry, right? So they're all Caucasian, 40, 50-year-old men. My first day at work, one of these men, who I'm supposed to be supervising at 22 years old, comes up to me, throws a file towards me, lands on my desk, and he said, "Girl, bill this out." That's what he said. "Girl, bill this out." I am a finance manager. He is a salesperson. And he throws the file and says, "Girl, bill this out." My immediate reaction, and remember where I'm coming from. I'm a person that actually believes I have nothing to lose because I didn't take the path that I was supposed to take. My parents gave up knowing I didn't take the path. So I have nothing to lose. I pick up the file. I run after the guy. We're in the middle of the showroom. There's people all around the showroom. It's my first day at work. I take the file. And I remember I said, "Hey, Joe." I don't even remember what his name was. Joe turns around. I take the file. I start ripping it into tiny little pieces. I threw it up in the air. And I said, "You made a mistake. You better start over again." I turned around, went back into my office. At that moment, I knew I could get fired. I knew that somebody could come in and say, "She's crazy. She's got to get out of here." I didn't care because I had nothing to lose. I didn't have anything to lose. I came from nothing. Nobody really believed in me. And so for me, nothing to lose, I was going to do it. So what happens? Everybody there suddenly realizes I've got to respect this girl. She's going to be a bitch. If I don't respect her, she's going to be a bitch and she's going to make my life miserable. I was. And so from that day forward, every man in the organization that needed anything from me ultimately gave me the respect that I wanted right from the very beginning. And that is something that I will tell you I had to set straight early on. So the story goes, and this happens, and this story is like fascinating. This happens in April of 2021, and you guys can read about it. You could Google about it. For the last 5 years of launching Constellation Agency, I now had 34 years of experience in the auto industry. Okay. So I'm able to close a lot of deals in auto. I try to close General Motors. I reach out to them over 12 times, never got a response, can't get a meeting, can't get a demo. Literally, I try, can't get in even for a demo. At this point, we're working with so many other auto manufacturers. We're working with Volkswagen, Jaguar, Land Rover, BMW, Mini, and we're working with all of these auto manufacturers. I can't even get a demo with General Motors. All of a sudden in April, this guy, the largest Black media owner, Byron, ends up taking a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal and actually accuses General Motors and Mary Barra to be racist. It hits the press. He takes a paid media ad, full page, hits the Wall Street Journal, goes out there, okay, calling General Motors and Mary Barra racist. Okay. And I know you don't see it here. Puff Daddy comes forward and basically accuses the company and the CEO of the same thing. And you could read about it. You could Google it. It's full page. It's all over the press now. This is April 2021. The story goes that I could have just sat and watched what happened, right? I could have done that like most people would do. I don't. Instead, I go online, I have our people help me, and I take a photo of all of the CEOs that actually represent the automotive space that are vendors to a lot of the OEMs. And here's a picture of some of them right here. And I send it to Mary Barra and I send it to Deborah Wall, who is the CEO and CMO of General Motors. And I said, "Mary And Deborah, I've taken so long to try to actually meet and get a demo with General Motors. I can't get one. It's been 12 times. And in the end, I am working with all these other auto manufacturers, and I just want a little bit of your time to actually do a demo. Can I actually do that? Because obviously we all want more diverse vendors out there and diverse suppliers. Can I get this demo? So I show this to a lot of people and they're like, oh, what did you do? And to General Motors' credit, I sent the same letter to at least 6 other OEMs. Because you know what? In the automotive space, this is what it looks like. That's the truth. This is what it looks like. So I sent out these letters with these photos right in the body of the email. And to General Motors' credit, they write me back in 2 days, get me in charge, actually set up the demo with the head of digital for General Motors. And I get my meeting and I get my demo. And within 30 days, I become the certified digital provider for General Motors within 30 days. Okay. And to GM's credit, they listened to me, they took the meeting, and after they saw the platform, they certified me. And that's huge because a lot of other auto manufacturers completely ignored me as if I didn't exist, but GM answered. So here's the thing. Here are the EY Entrepreneur of the Year award for all of the New York finalists. So it's not just automotive. And I'm showing you the visuals behind this. There's not a lot of diversity. And there's not a lot of people of color. And there's not a lot of females. So it's not just automotive. It's technology. It's every other industry. This is what you see. These are the CEOs. And I want you to visually see this because it's really meaningful to me, because every time I see this, it drives me even more to keep breaking the glass ceiling, not just for myself, but for all of us that's involved. Because if you were the model minority, you're not going to probably get in here because it takes a lot more to actually become Entrepreneur of the Year. So here's the other fact, and I just lifted this from Forbes. In order to get venture money, 58% of white males can get venture money, 20% of Asian males, 11% white and female, 6% Asian and female, 2% if you're Black and male, 1% if you're Black and female, 1% if you're Black and male, and 0% if you're Latina and female. And guess what? I pulled this yesterday, and this is from 2021. So here I fall along 6%. Whereas if you're white and you're male, you have close to a 60% chance you're getting funding as a business. These are my kids. And 2 of them are going to Cornell and the other one's going to NYU Tisch. I'm super proud of them. But every day I say to them that you have a disadvantage because I gave you everything. You had an ideal upbringing. You didn't have to fight. And here's the thing, you're going to top universities, and graduating from top universities, you suddenly have something to lose. People all think that you're going to make it. So all of a sudden you put all this pressure on yourself and you're like, I must make it. I must make it. I must make it. I must make it. Because coming out of the best academic situations like Harvard, everybody's counting on you to make it. And at the end of the day, you carry the weight of yourself as well as all of your family members that are counting on you to actually make it, right? And that's scary because I didn't have that. I have nothing to lose. My parents didn't believe in me. My family members didn't believe in me. I came from a car dealership atmosphere. And because of that, I could try everything and anything. Because when people don't believe in you, you have nothing to lose. You're going to go way further. You're going to try all of these things. You have nothing to lose. And this is what I tell my kids. Your competition is not the peers around you. It's the peers that basically have nothing to lose. If you have nothing to lose, you're going to do everything possible to win. That's it. So I say to them every day, if you come blessed in life, you have nothing to lose. You have everything to lose at that point, because you are putting yourself and saying, I have to make it. And because of that, I can't try all these other things. I have to stay in the box. I have to make sure I play good piano. I have to always get straight A's. I have to do what people tell me to do. I have to be polite. I have to do everything that my parents want me to do. And at the end of the day, that is not how you become successful. It is not. It's not how people are going to give you everything. People aren't going to give you anything. And here's the real truth. And I say this to my kids every single day. When you go to school, you know how to get the A. There's a book, there's a syllabus. Everybody says if you do X, Y, and Z, you can get the A. You need help, you go to your TA, they actually tutor you, you can get the A, and you can win at school. But in real life, all that goes away. There are no textbooks. There's no syllabus. Nobody tells you you read X, Y, and Z and you could be really great in life. Nobody ever gives you all the direction that you need. You got to problem solve. You got to push doors open. You got to make it happen for yourself. And the story that I told you about General Motors and what I actually had to do, that's my every single day. Every single day I go to work and I go, how do I actually do things so out of box? How do I push as many buttons to get in the door? And as many people that say no to me, that's just the front door. There's a back door, there's windows, and there's been so many times, like I told you guys that we have our master services agreement with Omnicom, one of the largest holding companies in the world. I at least got 5 no's from 5 different people who didn't return my call, my email, didn't listen to me. And you know what? The 6th time somebody said yes. And that is the truth, is that at any point in time, somebody can still say yes. If there's 5,000 people within an organization, you only need one of them to actually say yes. So if the other 4,000 people say no, maybe the 4,001 person would actually say yes. So you got to keep going. And this is what I tell my kids. So this is my final story before I go into Q&A. When we first started Constellation Agency, I noticed a pattern that was happening. And Abby Wambach said it best in her commencement speech in New York. I noticed something that was happening at Constellation, and it was bigger than basically what I wanted. So I took a lot of the women in our organization, and I brought them into our conference room. And we had actually a glass wall. And I told them to look outside the glass wall. And I said, look at all the men out there. They looked around. And, you know, in the beginning, I think the first year and a half, we only had about 30 employees. They looked outside. And I said, how many of the men do you think asked me for something in the last year and a half in launching Constellation Agency? And they looked. And I said, 60% of those men asked me for something. 60%. And I looked around the room to the women and I said, how many of you asked me for anything in the last year and a half? And trust me, guys, I'm a CEO of a company. I don't want anybody to ask me for anything. I know. But I knew that this was bigger than Constellation. I said, how many of you asked me for anything? They looked around and I said, it was one. The answer was one. And this story is not really about women. It's about minorities. We don't ask for anything. We don't. You keep your head down and you act like Little Red Riding Hood, right? Do what you're told. Stay on the path. Keep your head down. Be nice. Don't go off the trail. That's what the myth of the model minority is. We're always told, do these things, study hard, do the Kumon, work on it on the weekends, work on it during the summer, play piano, be the best, always say the path, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be a physician, marry one, right? Little Red Riding Hood. But in the 34 years of me working and becoming Entrepreneur of the Year in New York, being 65 as the fastest growing company, number 10 as the fastest woman-led company in the US, number 7 as the fastest marketing company in the US, I will tell you that I was never Little Red Riding Hood. I was always the wolf. The wolf is what we need to be, because we will never get funded and our companies will never make it. And your pictures will never be Entrepreneur of the Year unless you're the wolf. And you got to break down every barrier and break the glass ceiling, not just for yourself, but for everybody else that's around you and for the younger generation as well. So I'm going to stop there and see if you guys have any questions.
Thank you, Diana, for such a wonderful talk and for sharing so many stories with us. I personally was very touched. So delegates, if you have any question now, I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself to ask. Or you could just, if you don't want it, you could just type in the chat box so we could ask as well. Oh, there is one question going on. I would read it out. Your company entered the Inc. 5000 company list. What is your advice for all the newbies who want to launch their startups in the field? What is the advice for these who are currently facing challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic?
Sorry, I just want to make sure I heard the question correctly. So it's for all the newbies who want to launch their own startups in the field. What's your advice? Who are the current facing challenges due to COVID-19? Okay, there are so many challenges. Back in 2020, I will tell you, so we started in 2016. We doubled in revenue every single year. So we went from 4 million to 10 million to 18 million. And then COVID hits and it's the first year I'm not going to double. And I'm like literally shocked, right? I had declining revenues back in March of 2020 that I could not predict, because there was never a month that I didn't actually double month over month, year over year, until I hit March 2020. And it was like, phew. COVID year was one of the toughest years and I had to get out of it. And in so many ways, I remember my banker calling me and she said, Diana, you have to do everything you can to maintain the business, which means you better lay off people right this very second. Lay them off right now, because you're not going to make it. And there are CEOs out there that wait too long on those decisions, and then you end up losing the entire business. And this is my bank actually calling me and saying this. I didn't listen to one word they actually had to say. Instead, I went full force and I said to myself, I got to close a major deal and I need to close a license deal. The challenges of COVID 2020 helped us a lot. And here's why. Because it was the first time we had to pivot from actually just selling managed services to actually selling licenses. I always wanted to sell licenses, but at the end, there was no momentum in that until 2020 happened. When licenses really became hot, it had to do with people looking for efficiencies as quickly as possible. So they didn't actually have to do things manually. And at that point, that's when I was able to go to the Omnicoms of the world. And when so many of them had actually said no, they actually started to say yes, because they lost manpower. when they actually had to lay off, and they are laying off 30% of their crew, they still have to do equivalent types of work. So then basically they're looking for SaaS technologies to advance them quicker and to have efficiencies. So that was when I ended up closing a $2 million SaaS deal. I closed it in May and retained all of our employees and didn't go through a layoff. So the reason I'm saying this to you is a lot of times when there's situations where it looks like that no matter what, you're going to lose, you have to look for the opportunities, because for every disadvantage that there are out there, there are also opportunities. You have to just look. For example, even the situation with General Motors and the Black Lives Matter media owner going in, who knew that he was going to accuse them of actually being racist? And in the middle of COVID, this is all happening, right? And so that's another opportunity for you to actually go and try to meet with people that are on the same page as you. Find like type people and reach out to them during those times.
Thank you, Diana. It's very insightful. Let's move on to the next question from Suhana. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask?
Yes. Hi, Diana. I'm really impressed by the session today and by your work, of course. So what I wanted to ask was, you did stress upon being persistent, like trying hard. But then when you get a lot of rejections, you do get demotivated, right? So I am sure that you also faced that. So how do you deal with that?
Oh, it's very, very hard, right? And the thing is this, you're either going to go one way or the other. It's always a path. You're going to either stay depressed and continue to say to yourself, it's not going to work. You're not going to make it. You don't believe in yourself. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. Or you could say, this is just the beginning. Somebody is going to say yes. I'm going to prove them wrong. And I'm going to make this a reality for myself. But that is your choice. It is always your choice. And what's hard when you're younger is your parents tell you, if you do X, Y, and Z, you will get the stars. But in real life, it doesn't happen like that. I'm telling you, it didn't happen like that for me. Persistence is the key to actually always winning. So I always tell my employees one thing, because they always come to me. They're like, tell me the best advice that you can give me to actually move up as quickly as possible. And I always tell them these words: ask for more. Those are the most important words that I'll tell you in the session. Ask for more, right? And here's what I mean. You are just as bright as everybody else around you when you start your job. That's why they picked you, because you interviewed really well and they think you're really smart and you've got a terrific academic background. They picked you because of what's on your resume, what shows right there. But they picked everybody else for the same identical reason. Here's the difference. Me as a CEO, so busy, I have 150 things that I got to do on a day. My calendar is booked from morning to night. All the leadership team's calendars are booked. I only pay attention when somebody says, I have to talk to you. I go, oh, fine, I'll talk to you. What is it? And they go, I really want to move up. I really want this. I really want a title change. I really deserve to actually make more money. I think that it's X, Y, and Z. That's the only time I pay attention. If you're the model minority and you pretty much do what everybody else tells you to do, I'm like, oh, good. I don't actually have to worry about them because I can sustain them without ever worrying about them. I don't have to increase their pay. I don't have to do anything. But you know what? When you're the one that basically says, woohoo, woohoo, I'm not that happy right now because I think I could get better. I can get stronger. Now I have to pay attention to you. So there is no shot. If you're the model minority, you're quiet, you're really, really nice, and you're kind, I don't pay attention because I don't have to. I've got 150 employees. I have to pay attention to everybody else that when issues come up, I don't want to pay attention. But if you ask for more, if you always ask for more, makes me pay attention. And it makes me make a decision of saying, I want to retain this person. I can't lose this person. This person is great. And now I have to do something about it. So that's the advice I give you. Ask for more.
I did get a lot of insight into the next question that I was going to ask. So it was like, what does it take to impress somebody like you? What does it require?
It doesn't require a lot. What it requires to me is somebody who cares about the business as much as I do. I just have to feel that. And how do you show that? You show that through hard work. So this is the part that I will tell you about all typical founders and CEO and leadership teams. I have too many millennials and they're fantastic. The resumes are great. They're really smart. I'll tell you, everybody wants to steal them. But they look for work-life balance. A lot of millennials look for a work-life balance. And I think that's great. The problem is when you do a startup, there's no work-life balance. There isn't, because in order to make it, you actually have to like not sleep sometimes. You have to work until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. You have to, because resources are so short. So you start looking around for the people that are going to work until midnight or 1 o'clock or are going to be there for you, not the ones that clock out at 5 or 6, because those, no matter how smart they are, you're going to keep them. But at the end, you need the people that are going to actually put the hard work in sometimes to long hours of the night. And those are the people you're going to promote, because you know those are the soldiers that are going to be there when times are tough. That's what leadership looks for. Who are the people that are going to be there for me when times are tough? And we seek out those people.
That's a very insightful and impactful answer. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. I think everyone would remember 3 words: ask for more, from this session for sure. Now let's move on to Sophia. She was raising her hand.
Thank you, Inga. Hey, hi, Diana.
Hi.
Hope you're doing great. Diana, I wanted to
Thank you.
understand that what are your logics and the pillars on which you have based your company and you're following it till now? And what has helped you to grow it from those pillars or the ideologies that you have set?
Sorry, you were kind of going in and out. Did anybody else? I'm sorry, the audio wasn't that great there.
Okay, Diana, I'll repeat my question. Is it audible to you now?
Okay. Yes, yes, better.
What I'm asking is that I want to understand that what are your pillars or the ideologies on which you have based your company, and those are actually came across and you are still doing right now, like your company is based on those ideologies, and you don't like do any sort of thing to have a compromise with those ideologies, like you can't.
Did you guys hear? It was very hard for me.
Indra, maybe you can just repeat the question if you have both. Is it possible?
Yeah, or could you type actually in the chat and
Sure,
see if I could,
will.
I might be better.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, Sophia, thank you. While she is typing, let's move on to Shub Goyal. Sorry if I'm not
Hi, Diana.
pronouncing correctly.
Hi.
Yeah. Okay. So, as you told us that you started as a sales manager, then went to as like after sales manager, you go to finance manager, and after that, you like started a marketing agency. So, like, how did that particular thing change? Did you learn marketing just before that, or you did a job or something like that, or just jumped into marketing agency starting out that?
Yeah, so this is super funny. It's a great question. I was never in marketing. I was a consultant for the OEMs for 15 years before starting Constellation Agency. What happened was I ended up selling a Pfizer pharmaceutical project at my last couple years at the company that I was working for. And I was always a pretty good salesperson, but it was a social media global campaign around the world. And so there were no in-house capabilities for our company at the time to do it prior to Constellation, because, you know, I was working for an experiential marketing company that did HR consulting. I was on the HR consulting side. So this is how much I knew about marketing. I didn't know anything. I ended up selling this project. It's millions, right? I go on LinkedIn because now I'm desperate to actually staff the thing. And I find my partner from Ogilvy Mathers, and he is 21 years younger than I am. I approach him on LinkedIn and ask him about himself. We do a call, and I realize, oh my gosh, I just now actually can sell this thing. And I know that I can execute this thing with this guy. Hire the guy, work on the project for a year and a half. And then he teaches me everything that's happening on social media. I'm 52 years old, guys. I am not from your era. I don't know digital and I don't know social, but here I am. I partner with somebody 21 years younger than me. And I go, I'm going to sell this thing because it's that good. And so I believe in it. Now I can carry it. I can carry it because I believe in it and I can actually pitch it and sell it. So the story actually gets better. I first launched it as a marketing agency. That's why it says Constellation Agency. But we start failing because I can't scale it fast enough because I want to do 30 to 50 ads per month, not 3 to 5 ads per month, because we believe in hyper localized advertising. That means doing it in language, do different audiences. Well, now for every client, we were doing 30 to 50 ads. You try doing that through manpower and you were going to make a ton of mistakes. So we did the first year. It was fail, fail, fail. So then our neighbor was GitHub, the developer company, right? You know, I made Matt, my partner, go up with me to GitHub. We're still like 5 people the first year and a half. Walk into GitHub and I said, I need developers. Can you guys help me? They all looked at me like I was crazy. And then what they said is there's a guy who launched his own consulting development company by the name of Vinny. He was the SVP of Big Spaceship. Call Vinny. Call Vinny. Vinny tells me the person you want is Noman. Noman. Noman works for RGA. He's been there for 13 years, which is an ad technology company. And he says, Noman is the person, but you're never going to get Noman. I was like, I'm going to get Noman. That's what I got to do. I got to go get Noman. Meet with Noman many times. Noman says, no, I'm not going to join a startup. I've been with RGA for years, 13 years. I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to go to Amazon. I was like, Noman, you're being stupid because this company is going to blow up. And what I'm offering you is something nobody's going to actually offer you, Noman. So you have to take me seriously. So I said, make me a deal. For the next 8 months, I'm going to open my books to you. I'm going to show you everything. I'm going to invite you to every client meeting. And from there, you make a decision. So in eight months, Noman watches that we close all these deals from 4 million, we grow to $10 million just in the 8 months. So Noman now goes, where's the contract? I'm losing equity right now. I was like, you are? He signs the contract. Noman joins. Now Alexia is built. And now we're like flying, licensing. So what I'm trying to say is never a straight path, never, ever, ever. And the path you just don't know, you just can't give up. So here are all these no's again, flipped it to a yes. And at some point, some of it is going to flip to a yes if you're persistent.
Okay, very insightful. So, like as you have been growing, so gradually we know digital marketing has some technical aspects of running ads and everything. So you are totally into that, and you know each and every aspect of that, because by handling a particular client, you need to show some insights that you know that particular thing. And as you are a marketing consultant and marketing person, closing clients is your major forte. So do you have learned slowly all these stuff on technical basis, or you just know the upper self of that?
Yes. So here's the thing. When you actually start a startup, don't find people that know the same strength as you. Don't find similar people to you. That's the biggest advice that I'm going to give you guys today. Don't find similar people to you to go into business with you. So if your strength is in sales, don't pick another salesperson to be a partner. If your strength is in operations, don't pick another operations person to be a partner. If your experience is technical and you're a developer, don't find another developer to go into business with you. Your co-founders must be people very different from who you are, and they have to have significant strengths in those areas. And here's the other thing. Don't go to business with your family members or your friends. Don't pick people because you like them. That's the biggest advice I have to say right now, because that is failure to start. Matt, I didn't know him. I met him on LinkedIn. He professionally is probably one of the best social strategists I will ever meet. He has a creative eye, far more significant than everybody I've known. He's like Steve Jobs. That font is wrong. You better change the font. I don't even notice the font, right? Total different strengths. Noman, he's a developer. He's technical. He can take whatever I'm saying and actually code it, right? Matt puts it into a wireframe. He can actually code it, right? Or his team can code it. At the end, we stay in our swim lanes. If I'm good in operation and sales, that's where I am. If he's good in technical, that's where he is. Matt, if he's good in design and he's good in strategy, that's where he stays. And now you have the winning team.
Okay, so that is the major secret of growing a Constellation Agency, I guess.
Absolutely. We stay in our own swim lanes and we give each other the autonomy to run the swim lane the way we see it. That way we don't fight about those things because we are subject matter experts in just those areas. And so you stay in your swim lane, everybody gets along, they don't tell you what to do. And at the end of the day, that's how you find a winning team. And you certainly don't do it with friends and you don't do it with relatives. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Diana, for answering the questions.
Thank
you, Shub. Dear delegates, let's try to have only one question so we could give others also a chance. So let's move back to Sophia's question. She wanted to ask, what are the pillars and ideologies on which your company is based and you don't compromise with those?
That's a great question. So I have a pillar that says that you have a 30-minute turnaround time to get back to customers. And because you grow a company, whatever you believe in gets diluted with more and more employees. When you have 20, 30 employees, it's really easy to get that messaging right down, and it's one-to-one. The bigger you get, the new employees never even meet you. So I have my HR department send an email out talking about what is most important to Constellation. And what it is to me is 30-minute turnaround times on responses back to clients. That's my number one thing. What does that mean? You don't have an answer. That's fine. But you can at least confirm an email or at least call them and say, I'll get back to you. I understand and I'll get back to you right away. I don't care what you develop. At the end of the day, you can have a star winning company out there because you develop something so fantastic. But if the customers don't actually believe that you're going to be there for them, they're going to leave you and they're going to go to a competitor. So I always tell all our employees that our dedication is to our customers first. And the reason is because I can't pay my employees. I can't even give them a raise. I can't give them benefits if the first foundation isn't there, which is you take care of your customers first. If that works, then you can take care of your employees. But that's why it's more important to take care of your customers first, because I won't have the funding to take care of my employees. So that's what I always say. Foundation, 30-minute turnaround time to get back to customers right away, to let them know that you care about them.
Yeah, great insight, Diana. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diana. Let's move on to Vasu.
Yeah, hi, Diana. It's so great to meet you. Such an inspiring session. I just had a question regarding, so you started a startup which is doing 200% growth consistently for 5 years. And that's very difficult to do. I mean, most startups boom and then they fall as quick as they rise. And to do that, you need a very strong work culture. And it shouldn't be just you, it's your whole team that's following that whole culture. So I just like to question you about what that kind of culture is at Constellation. And also just a two-tiered question on top of that. There's usually, in terms of culture, people try to deliver the perfect product on time. But usually there's a race between perfection and delivering the product on time in a disciplined way. So which one would you weigh more? That's my question.
Okay, never go for perfection. I'm going to tell you, never, ever, ever going to get perfection. So I'm going to give you another story that might be helpful. So the name of the company is Constellation Agency. It's not Constellation Technology. It's not Constellation Licensing. It's Constellation Agency because I started as an agency model first and flipped it to a SaaS model later. Why is that significant? Because we built a platform. It's called Alexia. But before Alexia was born, the platform was called Launchpad. Guess what? Launchpad failed. I put in over $1 million of development work to make Launchpad. And here's the truth. I had focus group sessions. I met with customers. I talked to everybody. I literally brought everybody into the room so many times to figure out the features of Launchpad to make sure that it was going to be a hot product. And you know what? Everybody lied to me because at the end, it didn't sell. And the problem is when you actually make a product, you don't actually know if it's going to sell or not. That's the truth, right? You're betting on it. You believe it. People tell you they're going to buy it. But at the end, people don't buy it. The company goes to zero and you can't get funding. It's done. First shot out, you're done. What we did was we built it as an agency model first. So the funding came from the agency that built the platform. And the platform was built because I couldn't scale. So automation needs to come in and we need to scale it. So Alexia was built for the employees to be more efficient. And then we ended up inventing something that all the other agencies wanted as well. We solved the problem for ourselves and licensed it to everybody else. But here's the story behind it. It would have failed if I only had funding to make Launchpad because it didn't sell. But because I had the agency model, after $1 million, I still had revenues coming in as managed services. And from there, I could still make more mistakes to continue to go forward and develop Alexia, which was a hit. It's the winner. It's what everybody ends up winning and learning about. But this is what I'm trying to tell you is you're going to have failures. And that's great because there were so many things that I learned about developing Launchpad. I learned that there were things that people said that basically said that that's what they wanted. It's not what they wanted. I also learned to price it because people thought, oh, you could price it for $1,000. Can't make money at $1,000 unless you sell a ton of them, right? I learned all of these things in actually trying to develop Launchpad, and I applied it to Alexia, and Alexia won. So at the end, you always have to have some sort of plan where you know it's going to fail in the beginning, and that is okay. And that's the culture I tell everybody here. It's okay not to have the answers. The bigger problem is if you don't even try and you take too long to launch, because every iteration is never going to be perfect. You're going to have bugs. You're going to have people that are angry. You're going to have people that complain. But at the end of the day, you will fix it and it will get better and better and better every time. To 3 to 5 months, it will be perfect then. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. You iterate fast, but you always launch.
That makes so much sense. I'm probably going to take that advice to the grave. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you for such a delicate answer. Let's move on to Nursulpan.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for your speech. It was really motivational. So my question is really out of curiosity. I just wanted to know, where do you get those ideas from? Like, when do you just go, yeah, that's my target company, I'm gonna have the collaboration or partnership with them next? Like, does it happen just out of the blue, or is there a reference? Yeah,
that's a great question. So one of the advice that I would give you guys is sales. It's a numbers game. It's all numbers game. The more you talk to, the more you close. It's called upper funnel leads, right? You always have a lot of people at the upper funnel. You only have little people coming down to the lower funnel. But in a funnel cycle, there's the upper funnel, there's mid funnel, and there's lower funnel. if you always throw people into the funnel or companies into the funnel, there are some that basically never make it to the lowest funnel. It doesn't convert. But this is why you don't examine it. You don't think about it and you go, oh my God, do I go after this company? Do I go after this company? You go after this company. You go after all the companies. That's what I would tell you, because some of them are going to fall through and they're going to close, but it's a numbers game. The more you actually go and approach the situation, eventually some of it will close. So if you have 100 people that you reach out to, you may only close 1 or 2. But it is a numbers game. You just basically throw everything at it. And some of them you are going to actually close and some of them you're not. The other thing that I would offer you, especially with bigger companies, you have to figure out a way to just get in the door. It's not about the revenue. Once you get in the door, they like you, they trust you. You have a 30-minute response time to everybody, morning, noon, and night, weekends too. They're like, I can count on this person. I know that I'm not going to fail. So when an executive says yes, they're putting their reputation on the line. I want to make sure you guys understand this. An executive saying yes to you, they're putting their reputation on the line. You better not fail them. That means you tell that executive, I will do everything in my power to make sure you are successful with the decision of choosing me. That means I will be readily available to you 24/7 whenever you need it. You are my number one priority. And you make them feel really good. And you make sure that you do whatever is necessary for that executive to win, because he doesn't care about you. He cares about the decision that he made to bring you in. So at the end, that's what I would say. The success of that one individual will go to all the other individuals around that area that's watching that situation. And so I would say, you don't overthink it. Do as many approaches to actually trying to sell as many of the customers as possible. And don't think about the dollar amount of what it is in the beginning, because your main goal is to get in the door, get them to trust you. And once that happens, real money rolls in. And so some of our giant clients, I didn't charge them a dime for 90-day pilot, no charge. But once I'm in and my people can turn things around really fast and they have the commitment to them, you now grow it to millions fast. So the last part I would say about that is I look for 5 things when I know I'm going to close a deal. And if one of those things are missing, don't even go any further. One is, do they have a need? You must identify they have a need. The second thing is, do you have the solution? If you don't have the solution, don't approach them. The third thing is, do they have budget? Do they have money? They don't have money, stop right there. The fourth thing is, are you speaking to a decision maker? If they're not a decision maker, please stop talking to them, because there's too many times that you'll waste days, months, years with people and they were never the decision maker. And the fifth and most powerful, important thing to remember is, if you're not speaking to the decision maker, are you speaking to an advocate that can get to a decision maker? So here's the thing, that fifth part is super important. If you're not talking to a decision maker, you have to realize who you're talking to. Because just because they work for the company doesn't mean that they're close enough to any decision makers to make any of your dreams come true. So in every company, there are people that are called advocates to the decision maker. So if I hire somebody brand new, I don't care. At the end of the day, if they come to me and they say, I should do this, may not listen to them because they haven't actually shown their self-worth yet. But if somebody's been with me for 4 years and like has worked their tail off for me, and we need to hire this vendor, Diana, I'm going to hire the vendor. So you have to look for that advocate of the decision maker. If any of those things are missing, stop the conversations and move on to the next potential out there. You're never going to close it if those 5 things aren't there. And you ask those questions to anything that you've ever closed, including job Did they have a need? Yes, they had a need. That's why they hired you. Were you the solution? Yes, that's how you actually got hired. Did they have budget to hire you? Yes, that's how you got hired. Were you speaking to a decision maker? Yes, that's how you got hired. Fifth, were you speaking to the HR manager that was close to the decision maker? Yes. Every sales decision has to do with those 5 things. Or any decision, like you even getting a job, those 5 things.
All right, thank you for the answer.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you, our Platinum Tier delegates. You know that we are already running out of time, so I think we are calling it a day, and this is going to be the end of our session. If you have any questions unasked, you would have the chance to ask other questions in other executive seminars, so please just don't be disappointed. And I'm very glad to have you here and very glad to have Diana today with us. So thank you for your time and also your words of wisdom sharing with our delegates.
Thank you so much. I'm actually putting in the chat my email address. And so if any of you guys have other questions that I ran out of time and I didn't answer, please reach out to me. I'm happy to mentor you guys and help you in any way which way I can. So that's my email address. Just lift it and then just reach out anytime.
Yeah, that's so kind of you. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you guys so much. You're so wonderful. Thank you guys so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.